Hi everyone, you are welcome along to Culture Night 2020 with the Cervantes Institute. I'm Lynn Feeney and I'm here to speak to you for around 10 minutes just on my travels to Cuba, my experiences taking photos in Cuba, and as you can see I'm running a series of images alongside for you to look at. So those of you who visited my exhibition, This Is Cuba, at the Cervantes Institute in Dublin a couple of years back may recognise some of the images, but I've also added in some additional ones. It was a pleasure to be asked to do this tonight, and I think because we're so restricted with where we can travel to, it was just enjoyable to go back over the images and to dream again of when I might get back to Cuba. Look, hopefully it won't be too long. So in the meantime, I'm just going to, give you some tips or maybe some insights into my experiences. So I've been lucky enough to travel there several times over, and I've traveled independently, and I've traveled with a group of very good friends who are also keen photographers. So either way, the experiences have been fantastic. I think one of the key things that is important when you're traveling down there is to remember that Cuba has its own pace of life. So you might go with some fantastic schedule and timetable of everything that you might like to see and everything that you might like to photograph. But if you try to stick to that too quickly, you might find yourself disappointed. What I can recommend is that if you go with the Cuban way of life, which is a much slower pace, you will have a much richer experience, and I think as a result your images will also be better. So a huge number of the images that I take will be along the street, will be in daylight, and not at fantastic, early morning or late night hours. They can be in the highest at the height of the day when the sun is at its strongest. But the thing is, don't set yourself a timetable of, let's arrive in this village and, let's spend an hour walking through the town. What I do, and what my friends also do when we're traveling together, is we'll arrive somewhere and we have no particular timetable, and we'll start wandering and we will take off down the different streets. And you just are surprised at what you can come across if you give yourself some time. I think a huge part of traveling in Cuba from a photography perspective for me, and again, whether I've been traveling independently or again with my friends, is to have alongside somebody, a local guide if you're just traveling as a regular tourist. But for us as photographers, we were very lucky to meet Ramses Batista, a professional photographer in Havana. Now, it was arranged that we would meet him on our first journey, and he's just become an incredibly good friend. And for me, no journey is, complete to Cuba without having Ramses alongside. So, our first experience was to have him as a workshop leader, and that was fantastic. But, now he just travels as a fellow photographer. And look at the benefits of that, apart from just, having good company, is that, he can take you to locations that you might otherwise not access. Or if you're just driving out in the countryside, he'll take you off the main roads down into villages that he knows. And you might not ordinarily head down there on your own. And again, you end up with images and experiences and little stories to tell that you might not otherwise have. I mean, just heading out from Viñales, one of the rules is, to me, Lynn, if you see something that you like, if you see a face or a person or a farm or a building that you think might make a good image, you've got to shout. And that's what we do. So you might find yourself then, as I've done with these tobacco farmers in their barn where they are now modeling for you. And again, Ramses has facilitated that. So I don't know whether I mentioned, so Ramses is a professional photographer based in Havana. He's from Havana. He has exhibited internationally. He has worked internationally. He's a fabulous photographer. He also hosts workshops and he has been published. So I would encourage you to check him out on social media as well, where you'll see some fantastic images of his. So, you know, look, getting back to when you're on your road trip, or even when you're in Havana, you know, if there's something that you see, having him alongside will, you know, one, you know, you'll get the photography tips as well, but two, you know, he'll be able to approach people that you might like to photograph, and he'll explain who you are and what you're trying to do, and, you know, break the ice. And, you know, all of a sudden you end up, you find yourself having these conversations, whether it's through your very, very, very poor Spanish, and maybe the Cubans little bits of English, but, you know, between the lot of you, you know, you can end up with some great images from a good shoot. But, you know, it's not something that you would do if you were just traveling on your own, or even in a group. You know, you might not just stop and ask people, would they, you know, would they let you do this? A huge part of photography and just a good experience in Cuba is engaging with the Cubans. You know, we're so curious about their history and their island, but they are equally curious about us, who we are, where we're from, what our story is. And actually, if you make it your business to engage, again, you'll have a much richer experience, whether it's your images will be better, or just your overall general experience of time spent in Cuba. You know, it will be richer. And so the other thing I would say is, you know, look, having somebody like Ramses alongside is, again, you can get access to locations that you might not ordinarily get access to. So be they farms, be they farm buildings, sugarcane farms, tobacco farms. We had another experience in one of the sugarcane farmers' villas back in Havana, which was just a fabulous building. We did one of the ballet shoots in there. We shoot on the street. Another one with Daniela was shot on Prado. We've worked with boxers, again with Daniela, the ballerina. I had the opportunity then to shoot the Nutcracker Ballet one December, and it was great. I was backstage, I was front of house. It was a fantastic experience. But again, you know, I probably wouldn't have managed to do that on my own. And then a funny little story, we came out, the car wouldn't start, and, you know, what do you do except, you know, you push the car down the road. And we managed to get a bus driver to stop when he was kind of staring at me, wondering what was going on. But he kindly stopped his bus, got out of the cab, and helped me push the car. So, you know, and you find yourself in just you know, little situations that you might not ordinarily find yourself in. You know, the more you travel there, the more you kind of build up those relationships. You find yourself more in day-to-day scenarios. You might find yourself at the car repair shop one day, you know, or another day you might be just driving along and you see people, they're refurbishing or repainting classic cars, and you might say, well, look, let's stop there and see if they want, if they'll let us photograph. So you just get some fantastic opportunities. We ended up in a very small town called Santa Isabel de las Lajas one year, and it was, again, you know, engage with the locals. They came out, we were hardly down the road, and they were coming out of their houses and out of their businesses to see who we were and what we were doing. They wanted to tell us about their town, and it turns out that a jazz musician, Benny Moray, is from that town, and they wanted to share that with us. They wanted to show us their exhibition about him, the monument to him, and, you know, just ordinarily you would have totally bypassed that town if you stuck to the main roads. Now I see a picture of Laborio there in the background, and I think, again, I'll finish on that one. Laborio was a very dear friend of Ramses, and was also a professional photographer to Fidel Castro and Che Guevara, and we were incredibly lucky in that, having only known us a few days, Ramses was happy to introduce us to Laborio and arrange a meeting. So Sunday, it was 5 p.m, the sun was shining, it was February, I remember it clearly, and we arrived at Laborio's house. We were welcomed in past this wall of images, world leaders, Hollywood stars, images that he had taken and brought through to the dining room, where we were given some coffee, incredibly strong coffee. I don't drink coffee, it was incredibly strong, but it would have been rude not to drink it. So, and we were then, regaled with stories of travels of his. He took out some of the images, the classic images that you would recognize, and he shared them with us and told us stories around them. And it was a fantastic experience, and it really is one that we won't forget. So that was one where I was with my group of friends, and it was great to sit at the top of the table between Laborio and Ramses, and there was just great banter going back and forth between them, and it was great just to look out at my friends and just see the enjoyment on their face. So it wasn't just me that was experiencing this. It was just a fantastic opportunity for us, and to this day we don't go into any detail about that particular visit. We just mention Laborio, we mentioned that visit, and we're all transported back, and we kind of don't need to go into the detail on it. But again, just another fantastic experience that we would not have had without Ramses. So look, I'm going to finish off there. I know there are some more images that are going to run through in the background, so I'm going to let you watch those on your own, and thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy the rest of Culture Night.